Welcome back to another episode of the Amazon Private Label Show podcast, hosted, as always, by Michael and Ryan, the co-founders of Amazon FBA University. Today, we are in person. We are in New York City, the few and far between video episodes.
Moving and shaking, baby.
We are here. So the next 4 to 5 episodes, depending on how much time we have. So today, we are going to talk about what makes a product succeed on Amazon and even outside of Amazon in the e-commerce space versus products that might have some trends behind them, might have a little bit of brands and products selling well, but just don't have underlying fundamentals to be able for a new seller to come in and actually gain market share. So, Rye, we'll start with you, as always, my man. In terms of, we've done similar episodes to this in the past. So in terms of both historically and then more so, okay, not just what's going to never change, but what's, what works in 2025 that did not work before. How do you see product research and how do you see this market?
Yeah. So in terms of product research, I think you really got to have a USP nowadays. It's not enough. And we always say this, right? But it's definitely more apparent now in 2025 and will become only more significant in the future. You really got to have a USP when it comes to your product. So you really got to think, if you're launching anything on Amazon, do you really clearly understand the market share that you have and a clear understanding and reason why people would buy your product over the competition? I think that's really, really important. So just for context, I have a product of mine that's been out of stock for a little bit. I just came back in stock. I'm not running any ads. I'm getting a bunch of different sales. And the reason is because when I launched that product initially, a long time ago, I picked out a very clear USP and no one else in the market that I sell in has even managed to match my USP just yet. So that product is really, really unique. And that is really one of the reasons why the conversion rate is so high on that product. The profitability is good. And it's the reason why I'm able to sell $50 plus when everyone else in the market has to sell $30 to $40. I can really charge that premium because I'm bringing something to the market that wasn't there before and something that is completely unique, what people are willing to pay more for. And that was something that I was able to vet before I even launched. I really went through PickFood polls. I did Facebook focus groups. I did Reddit polls to really understand what people in the market were looking for and then bring something to the market that was new and had enough of a USP that people were prepared to pay a premium for. And I feel like that is the number one key thing. Product research is great. Keywords is really cool. It's really awesome. These are fundamentals that aren't going to change no matter what you're selling. But I think really looking what your USP is basically the next thing, right? So keyword research is there, search volume is there, profitability is there. We want, a cost per click under $1.50 is great. These things for me are like non-negotiables, but really, really thinking about it. And this is going to be really hard to do, right? This isn't easy. And this is why a lot of products do not succeed on Amazon. And also why a lot of products have a limited time span when you look at the life cycle of a product. If you can really deeply dive down and clearly answer, what your product's USP is. And when you stack it against some of the best sellers in the space, you can clearly say, look, this is the reason why my product will succeed. That is literally what's going to take you from being just like every other Amazon seller to being someone who's able to bring in stacks of revenue and also build a solid brand and also branch out into multiple products. If you have multiple products that tick the USP box, that is where you can really excel when it comes to Amazon. And I think, it's really nice to have this now. You can still kind of get away with selling slightly more generic products if your branding is on point. But I feel like in the future, especially 2025, 2026 and onwards, so really understand what it is. If you don't have a USP, I probably wouldn't launch the product, to be honest. You really need to be thinking about what you're bringing to market and whether or not you're going to be just another person selling exactly the same products in that category, or you're going to be someone who's bringing something else to the table that is going to withstand the dangers of a category, right? A lot of people launch products in certain categories. They just kind of blend into the background. They have a great honeymoon period and then they just kind of fade off into the dust. You don't want to be doing that. You want to build a product that you're able to sell that kind of becomes timeless, right? That has a solid USP and, you'll be able to sell for many years to come.
Yeah, I would say the life cycle of just about everything is quicker in today's age. Like everything comes and goes faster, and that goes for physical products too, because for whatever reason, people just, people get bored. People are looking for the next. If you come out with a dime a dozen product, be able to sell for a year, but that's a lot of work to only sell for a year in that space. So what I've really focused on is products with repeatable buys. I really didn't focus on, for the first couple years of selling on Amazon or selling anywhere online, because you don't have to. And a lot of times just realistically, the cost per click and the competition tends to either be higher or it's going to get higher in those categories, because both the gift and the curse of repeatable buy categories is your lifetime value of a customer. So it's much more of a benefit than it is a curse, but you have to be aware, just to go back to what Rye said, that $1.50 cost per click, right? That holds true on every product. The customer is not going to typically buy more than once. Absolutely. But you have to think outside the numbers. You have to think outside a spreadsheet and actually be able to ascertain what products are repeatable. I mean, you can actually get that information too. But if something, your average customer buys 16 times instead of once, well, you can spend a lot more than $1.50. So that's really what I've focused on, is saying, okay, I'm not going to worry about the initial launch cost. And it's a lot easier now being a couple years into it, I'm willing to spend a lot more capital on launches than just trying to escape my job and didn't have a lot saved in the bank. But all that to say, the ROI on launching these products is incredible, because instead of working really hard, satisfying that customer once, and then them really never needing you again, and you just having to wake up and do it again and again, these people, especially if you have sticky products, like the stickier something is relates to how much of an emotional need it is. So, energy, weight loss, their skin, anything, especially appearance, anything that's very emotional is going to have a high stickiness, right? Because people notice when they don't have it. So find your product. If they like it, if it's quality, if it has a USP, you're going to be able to sell to them a lot. And what makes that even easier is Amazon Subscribe and Save. It's like the difference in someone subscribing on some external website, even a trustworthy brand that everyone knows, like people just don't like subscriptions outside of Amazon, because it just feels like, it almost feels dirty in a way, like they're going to forget it. Whereas Amazon, one, you just trust it, right? So all of these factors show you that if you're going to do the work, if you're going to spend the money and you're going to make a high quality product, boom, do something that can build without you having to exert for each additional floor and additional revenue mark, right? So that's one thing. And then another thing I really like to do is, there's a lot of overlap in this, products that are repeatable, is things that can't be returned. The first thing that makes e-commerce, or especially selling on Amazon, difficult is high cost per click, and then you solving the problem and the customer never coming back. The second thing is, a lot of categories have high return rates. And so sometimes people aren't even aware when they launch products, if they're an early seller, oh, I'm making 15, 20,000 a month. They're not seeing that, okay, there's a return rate coming. You're going to start getting charged and losing money on that too. So consumables, topicals, put on your skin or put in your pet's body or put on their skin, you can't return. You solve two of the most difficult problems. And yes, there is a lot of competition. It's not a secret. A lot of sellers don't intuitively get this, but there's a reason these categories are sought after. So if you can find a category with an opportunity, make something that's unique and differentiate it, and be able to build that subscription base easily over time while not returning it, boom, that's like the triple entendre of thriving on Amazon. And so the fundamentals stay the same, but these are things that are more important today than they were when we started back in 2020, and are only becoming more and more important. That's what I would say. I would say the market is bigger than ever. There's more bigger brands, less overall sellers right now, but you're rewarded more if you do things right. And I would say it's a little harder to have those tiny wins, just because it's a little more advanced of a game than it was 5 years ago. So that's how I see it. And we'll keep you updated every couple months on this, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. The Amazon landscape is definitely a little bit more complex and challenging, but there's more money in it. And I think if you're doing things right, you're putting yourself in a small pool of sellers who are absolutely crushing it right now on Amazon, particularly in the markets that we've discussed on this podcast. Now, guys, if you want to get involved with us and work with us inside of our Accelerator 2.0 and launch your own private label brand, you need to book a call. We've now brought back the $100,000 sales guarantee. So we guarantee your first $100,000 in sales revenue inside of the first year of working with us. And if you don't hit it inside a year, then we'll work with you for free until you get there. So if you want to know more about that and find out exactly what it looks like working with us, then book a call. Links in the description. I'd love to speak with as many of you as possible. And as always, we'll see you in the next episode.